What's up, everybody? Jeff C. back. I have two 5-star books to review today, so let's get into it.
Welcome to Jeff C, where pages turn into rhythm, bass lines carry stories, and real talk fuels better living. We dive deep into books, drop heavy on the bass, and share real discoveries in health and happiness. Now sit back, breathe deep, and take a listen to this next episode.
All right, the first book I'm going to get into is actually one I talked about on my last video. I just finished it. It's a 5-star book, but it actually contains 4 novellas, none of which actually gave 5 stars, but I just feel like this is such a good book to utilize for people. And that book is Different Seasons by Stephen King. Man, what an awesome book. The thing that makes this book so awesome is, 1, it has 4 very good stories in it. 2, this is a great way to get into Stephen King if you have not read any of his work, in my opinion. You have basically 4 novellas, 3 of which were adapted to great movies: Shawshank Redemption, Apt Pupil, and Stand By Me, which is the story of the body. There's a 4th book, or 4th novel, that is The Breathing Method. It was okay, but it was the last one I read to finish this out. It was nice. Wasn't anything game-changing or anything. I did like the environment. It's basically about a group of older guys who meet at like a gentleman's club, not a strip club, but like an old club where guys would go and like read books, drink scotch, I don't know, smoke cigars, and just talk about shit. It's one of those type of clubs, and they, every once in a while, weekly, they have a story that is told by one of the gentlemen. And there's a special story that is told the Thursday prior to Christmas every year. And that's kind of where I'll leave it. Yeah, it was a good read. I think I gave it 3.75 stars. It was good. The one thing I really did like about it is the way that they announced that it was time for the story to be told. I'll just say that. It wasn't like somebody went around, hey guys, we're going to sit by the fireplace, blah, blah, blah. They did a little ritualistic thing that I thought was kind of cool. So, yeah, that's Different Seasons, Stephen King. I really, I love this book. I think if you have never read anything by Stephen King, you should give this a whirl. You can get it on Amazon. You can find it pretty cheap at used bookstores, even first editions. This is a first edition that I have here. I actually had a different first edition, and that wasn't quite in good shape as this one, so I saw this one, I bought it, and I gave the other first edition to a good friend of mine. I've even bought it on Amazon and just, sent it to people before. My wife's kind of annoyed because I told her anytime I see this book in a used bookstore, I'm just going to buy it and just have it to give to people. So the book that I just finished, and actually it's another kind of, where I just read part of it. I'll explain to it in a little bit, but man, this book, Letters to a Young Poet by Rainer Maria Rilke, who is a poet. Everybody should read this book. And I have the way that I put my stars, like to me, like a 5-star book means that I will probably read it again in my life. And honestly, I think this is one of those books that I might just read like at the beginning of every year, because it has just some very good nuggets in there. And you'll see where my bookmark is. I've actually only read to that much, and I'll explain here why that is. So Rilke was already kind of an established author in the early 1900s, where he started getting letters from this guy, Franz Capus. And so what was initially published in the early 1900s were just Rainier's letters in response to Capys. And so for over a century, those letters were just what people read. And then in about, I want to say maybe 2018, the letters that Capys was writing to Rilke were also discovered, and so then they were put in this edition here. The introduction of this work highly recommends just reading Rilke's response first. I'm going to read to you now what they actually say in the introduction in regards to that. And since the young poet's letters are simply not as good as Rilke's, how could they be? They both make Rilke's empathy and artistry more impressive and risk interrupting it. The editors and I have therefore put Capys's letters in a separate section and encourage readers, especially new readers, to experience Rilke's iconic 10 letters as the single work of art they have always been. And so, yeah, that was, I read that and I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. Because I was initially going to do the back and forth thing. And here's the thing, like, if you look at where these letters start, if we start there, I got this. So, like, this piece that I'm holding in the middle, that's all of it. That's all 10 letters. I think it's 70 pages. So you could easily read that, in an hour and a half, so I really think there's some lessons in here that are just great. It doesn't matter how old you are. Obviously I feel that these would be really good for young people. I want to read another little part in here that struck me when I read it. And I will say before I read this that I was gonna annotate this thing, I like doing that, especially if I have a hard copy. Let me see here. You can see that I started writing down or, putting some lines underneath, whatever. And then it was I was doing whole paragraphs. And it was just I was like, when I did this whole paragraph, which I'm actually gonna read here in a second, I was like, wait, how much? So I just started reading and I was like, there's so much good stuff in here that I was like, it's too much. It's and then when I saw that it was 70 pages, I was like, no, this is just something that should be read. I should just read this annually. And so that's probably what I'm gonna do from now on. So I just wanna read this paragraph here that was just I think it's very important for people to pick up. You ask in that letter if your poetry is good. You ask me. You have already asked other people. You send in your poems to magazines. You compare them to other poems. You are upset when this or that editor rejects your efforts. So now, since you have asked for my advice, here is what I want you to do. Stop all that. You are looking outward, and that, more than anything, is what you should not be doing. No one can help you or give you advice. No one. The only thing to do is go into yourself, look for the reason that is making you write. See whether it has put down roots in the deepest place in your heart. Admit, in all honesty, whether or not you would die if you weren't allowed to write. This above all, ask yourself in your night's quietest moment, do I have to write? Dig deep down into yourself for the answer. And if it is yes, if you can meet this solemn question with a strong and simple I must, then build your life around that necessity. Your whole life, down to its most trivial, indifferent moments, must be a sign of this need, a testament to it. That's pretty crazy. And yeah, there are just other nuggets on different facets of existence in these letters that he wrote to this guy. So I was just, the whole time, it's stuff that a lot of it I was like, yeah, that makes total sense, and so I like the content, the size, even with the letters. It's not much, and I will go back and read Capys's letters at some point, but right now I'm just really been thinking about a lot of what was said in Rilke's letters to him. And so I would highly encourage all of you guys to read Letters to a Young Letters to a Young Poet by Rainier Maria Rilke. And I don't know if I'm saying that right or not, but that doesn't matter. Yeah. So tell me, have you read either one of these books? Different Seasons, Letters to a Young Poet. I really like both of these. Both 5 stars to me. Like I said, I will definitely be reading this again in the future. I'll probably start reading it every January. And I can certainly see myself reading Different Seasons again. However, I will say that I have a ton of other stuff I need to read by Stephen the King. But I will be suggesting this book to a lot of people, and I will be collecting used copies of it and distributing them all over the world in random hotel rooms. I don't know. I hope you guys are having a good day. Thank you for following along. Let me know if you have read either one of these books down in the comments. I would love to interact with you there. Follow me on Goodreads. Follow me on Instagram. Fable, if you use that app, it's the same, Jeff C. based in books. I am reading a really cool book, actually. I'm reading one of those books that I felt I probably should have read, I don't know, when I was a kid. I did read a version of this book when I was a kid. So, yeah, it's a legendary book. I will be done with that soon. I'm about 45% done with that, so I should be finished in the next few days. So hopefully next week I will be talking about that. Please like, subscribe, follow along, and I will see you guys soon. Thank you. Peace.